Hello and welcome to Investment Insight, your clear take on the markets. Let's get started. Today we're taking a deep dive into the mind of, well, a truly legendary thinker, Charlie Munger. His philosophy on building wealth, that's always been pretty non-traditional.
Definitely. Radically so sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're someone feeling maybe a bit overwhelmed by all the market noise, the constant hot tips, the rapid trading, this deep dive is probably for you.
Uh-huh.
We're really skipping the day-to-day stock drama. We want to focus on something, frankly, more valuable, the psychological stuff, the long-term foundation for getting rich.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe even more importantly, staying rich.
Right. And when you look at the analysis, Munger's core thinking, it really moves past just the numbers. It's about mindset.
Okay?
The data we looked at highlights three core pillars for building wealth that lasts. First, slowness. That means patience, really respecting time.
Okay, slowness.
Second, rationality. Just a commitment to thinking clearly without emotion fogging things up.
Rationality, got it.
And third, and this is key, a constant, really intentional effort to simply avoid stupidity.
I like that. Avoiding stupidity rather than chasing genius. It feels counterintuitive maybe, especially today when everything feels so fast.
It really is, but that's central to his whole argument. Munger often said, building lasting wealth is mostly a psychological test and a moral one.
Not an IQ test.
Exactly, not an intelligence test. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room to win this long game. You just have to be more disciplined and less likely to shoot yourself in the foot, basically.
All right, let's dig into that first pillar then, slowness. Most people, when they think about money, they want it fast, right? Quick wealth.
Of course. That's the dream sold everywhere.
So how does Munger's idea of patience fit with, today's fast markets and tech changes? Is there a risk you get left behind if you're too slow?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And Munger would say that desire for quick wealth, that's the real trap. When people asked him how to get rich quick, his advice was pretty blunt. Don't rush. First, learn how not to be poor.
Learn how not to be poor first. Okay.
Yeah. The evidence seems pretty clear. Fast wealth often doesn't have strong foundations. It can disappear just as quickly as it came.
Right. It's like trying to build a skyscraper in a week. It just doesn't work. It's bound to crumble.
Precisely. Almost everything that's truly valuable, it takes time. You can't rush learning a skill, becoming an expert.
Yeah.
And you definitely can't rush the market without taking on some potentially ruinous risks. Munger didn't just call himself a long-term investor. He specifically said he was a slow and patient person. It's about the character trait first.
Okay, so building wealth isn't a sprint. It's more like a test of psychological endurance. What does that test actually demand from us?
It demands accepting what the analysis calls the market's iron law, the quick path, the shortcut. It usually leads straight to ruin, or te, as some might put it.
Ruin.
Yeah. Chasing those super fast returns generally means taking super fast, sometimes existential risks. And this leads directly to why compounding is the real engine here.
Right, compounding, that term gets thrown around a lot. We get the basic idea of money making money. But how did Munger simplify it? What's the secret?
He kind of stripped away all the complex math focus. For him, the real secret to compounding was, well, simple. Live a long time.
Okay.
Critically, just avoid doing foolish things. That's the hard part.
Avoid the foolish things.
Yeah. Most people interrupt the process. They panic sell during downturns, or they pull money out for some flashy purchase, or they gamble it away chasing a hot tip.
We see that with his partner, right? Warren Buffett.
Mm.
Holding something like Coca-Cola for literally decades. The genius wasn't just the initial buy.
Not at all.
It was the constancy, the refusal to mess with it, just letting the money do its work year after year. That constancy of character, Chavs.
Absolutely. Time is the biggest ingredient for compounding. But consistency, that's the multiplier. And this leads to something surprising in the analysis. The idea that the wisest investment style is often just plain boring.
Boring. That's not what you usually hear. People seem glued to their investment apps, checking them constantly. It feels exciting to them.
And that's the psychological challenge, isn't it? We're kind of wired to seek out novelty, excitement. So actually accepting boredom in investing, that takes conscious effort. It's an act of will.
So if your investing feels like a thrill ride.
If it feels exciting, yeah. If you're constantly checking prices, making lots of moves, the data suggests you're probably confusing gambling with investing. Real wealth building, it tends to happen quietly, patiently, And yes, often, very boringly, over many, many years.
Okay, that patience, that need for self-control flows right into the next pillar. Rationality, or Munger's take here is fascinating. He basically said he never made genius decisions. He
Right.
just avoided too many stupid mistakes.
Right. He completely reframes the goal. It's not about being smarter than everyone else. The goal is just to be a little less foolish.
A little less foolish.
Yeah. Being rich, according to this analysis, it's the reward for being rational, not necessarily for having the highest IQ.
You know, I know some brilliant people, truly intelligent, who struggle constantly with money, great with big ideas, but terrible with the day-to-day financial stuff. Why does intelligence often seem to fail here?
Well, often high intelligence can breed impatience, maybe even a sense of entitlement, like success should come quickly because you're smart.
Ah,
And that impatience, it's deadly in finance. It pushes smart people to use too much leverage or to treat investing like gambling, take on debt they don't need, chase illusions they think they can outsmart.
right.
The sources point out the market is kind of a cruel teacher. It doesn't always punish foolishness right away. It just settles up later. But when it does, it can be brutal and permanent.
So, the danger sounds like confusing self-deception with having a real strategy. You know, buying stocks you don't understand because someone hyped them up.
Exactly. Or trusting people you don't really know, making decisions based on hope or fear. People call it investing, but really,
It's not.
it's self-sabotage, just dressed up in financial terms. Munger's message here seems pretty universal. An irrational person, even if they stumble into wealth by luck, they probably can't keep it. They'll find a way to destroy it.
Uh-huh.
But a rational person, grounded in logic, patience, they'll likely become wealthy eventually, even starting from scratch.
So, rationality gives you that control. It sounds like Munger's own success came from being almost defensive, focusing on what not to do.
That's a great way to put it. He admitted his edge came because he constantly doubted himself. He didn't trust his own gut feelings or the latest trends. He relied on evidence, on patience. Success often comes from inverting the problem. Figure out what causes failure.
And then just don't do those things.
Exactly. Avoid them systematically.
Okay, so if rationality helps avoid the psychological traps, what about the practical habits? The things that just drain your money away? Let's talk guardrails, maybe starting with debt.
Right. Debt is basically the polar opposite of the Munger philosophy. He viewed it as a kind of modern poison
Poison. Why?
because it slowly steals your freedom. The sources even call debt the essence of slavery, in a sense. You end up working not for yourself, but just to cover the interest payments and borrowing money just to prove you're successful or to keep up appearances. Munger saw that as a sign of failure, not status.
And the analysis specifically calls out the tragedy of pre-consumption. What exactly do the sources mean by that? Pre-consumption.
Pre-consumption is basically spending money you haven't earned yet, living
Yeah.
today on tomorrow's work, like eating next week's groceries today. You'll be hungry later.
Got it.
Rich people, or those who become rich, Munger argued, understand the value, the dignity of cash flow. They build freedom by making sure their money is working for them before they spend it. They're ruthless about avoiding debt just for appearances, for IO, or keeping up with the Joneses.
So if income isn't the best measure, what defines true wealth in this view?
The metric for true wealth is how long you can live without anxiety without working.
Ah, your financial runway.
Exactly, your safety cushion. The sources make a pretty blunt point here. Many people are poor not just because their income is too low, but because their spending is too high. They consistently live beyond their means.
Which makes frugality essential. But Munger didn't mean just being cheap or stingy. Bread, did he?
No, absolutely not. He drew a line between quality spending and vanity spending. Frugality, in his view, is control over your desires.
Yeah.
Is refusing to waste your life energy, your income, on things that just feed vanity, a case. It's a necessary discipline. It's actually the prerequisite for compounding to even start working its magic. If you save a little each year, money starts working for you. If you overspend every year, debt ensures you keep working for someone else.
Right. Let's shift to the final big threat Munger identified. He saw one emotion as perhaps the most destructive in finance. Surprisingly, maybe, it wasn't greed. It was envy, Sal.
Yeah, he saw envy as uniquely dangerous, the single biggest psychological threat to building and keeping wealth. He thought it ruined smart, capable people more effectively than greed often
Why
does.
more than greed?
Well, greed, at least people often recognize it, maybe even admit to it. But envy, it's insidious. People often don't even acknowledge it in themselves. It hides, maybe showing up as resentment or bitterness.
And what makes this psychological poison, this envy, so dangerous for long-term wealth?
Because it's the only vice, the analysis points out, that costs you everything and gives you nothing back except anxiety.
Nothing but anxiety.
Yeah. It destroys your judgment. It steals your patience. It pushes people into taking crazy risks, chasing fads, taking on debt just to keep up with someone else, some neighbor or colleague or social media fantasy.
That comparison track, that constant desire to do as well as others, it makes the whole thing an unwinnable race.
Exactly. The analysis actually suggests something like 80% of financial disasters stem from that desire, trying to keep pace in this consumer race that, by definition, has no finish line.
80%, that's huge.
It is. Munger apparently called envy the luxury of the poor person's mindset. True wealth, he argued, isn't just money, it's emotional stability. If you can stay calm, maintain your peace of mind, regardless of how fast others seem to be going or how rich they look, you've basically won the inner game.
So real security isn't about how big your portfolio is. It's internal.
That's it exactly. True financial safety isn't found in external things, not your job, not a rising market. Those things change, they're temporary. Real safety comes from your own judgment, your autonomy, your psychological toughness. Yeah. You have to build that internal fortress first.
You mentioned psychological toughness. It almost sounds like Munger was aiming for something like anti-fragility. And rather than just certainty, wait, can you unpack that a bit? Anti-fragility.
Sure. Certainty is mostly an illusion, right? You can never be certain the market won't crash or your job is 100% safe. Anti-fragility, though, it's different. It's the ability to not just survive chaos or volatility, but to actually get stronger because of it.
Okay, stronger through chaos.
Yeah. And Munger's whole approach, the slowness, the low debt, the high savings rate, the zero envy, it seems designed to make your financial life anti-fragile. When panic hits the market, the rational, patient person with cash isn't destroyed. They're actually empowered. They can buy assets cheaply from those who are forced to sell. They get stronger.
That makes a lot of sense. Build a system that benefits from disorder, not just survives it.
Precisely. So to just quickly recap Munger's path here, be slow, be patient, commit to rationality, which mostly means just constantly avoiding obvious, stupid mistakes, control your spending, kill the debt, and maybe hardest of all, ruthlessly root out envy. True wealth, lasting wealth, it's really rooted in that emotional stability no matter what the guy next door is doing.
And here's a final, maybe provocative thought from the analysis to leave you with. Getting rich, that's not really the end goal. It's just the start of a new test, maybe a harder one.
How so?
Well, wealth doesn't really change who you are deep down, does it? It just reveals it, amplifies it. Munger suggested the highest psychological achievement isn't getting the money. It's maintaining your humility, your temperance, your cool-headedness after you've got it. That's the real challenge.
Keeping your head when everyone else is losing theirs? Especially when you're winning. That's tough.
It really is. Something to think about. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button.